All right, now to give us more perspective about this entire controversy that is playing out, we're being joined by Peter Kuznick, who's a professor of history and director of Nuclear Studies Institute at the American University. He's joining us live from Washington, D.C. Professor, thank you very much indeed for taking time out and speaking to us. The question I want to ask you is this: will the saboteurs of the Nord Stream pipeline blast ever be found out?
Well, we don't know if they're going to be known. We know that several governments are conducting investigations, and they have not made their findings public. That in itself is very suspicious. We know that from the very beginning, the U.S. government dismissed Sy Hersh's contention that this was U.S. sabotage. The White House said this is utterly false and complete fiction. So Russia and China have been calling for UN investigation. They have not gotten Western support for this investigation. So I think that right after this happened, the United States, Poland, and Ukraine all said the Russians probably blew up their own pipeline. Nobody believed that. That was crazy. That meant there was no reason for the Russians to do that. So the whole thing is very suspicious. Will it ever be known? Hopefully, yes. And hopefully the United Nations will begin an independent investigation and we'll find out what these other countries have discovered that they don't want to release to the public.
Interesting, Professor. And also, do you think that the probe has been hampered due to a lack of trust between Russia and the United States?
I think the probe is hampered mostly by the fact that the United States doesn't want the truth to come out. It's against U.S. interests for the truth to come out, especially if the U.S. was behind this. Seymour Hersh, who is a very, very good, internationally renowned investigative reporter, has said that this was a U.S. Navy operation, Navy divers they placed the explosives during the Baltops 22 NATO exercises in June of 2022. Seymour Hersh has a detailed expose. People have challenged certain elements of Seymour Hersh's story about the minesweepers not being in the area, about certain things about Jens Stoltenberg, head of NATO. But we need to study this. We need to investigate it. Hersh is a trustworthy journalist.
Very interesting. And also, Professor, who do you think could in fact be behind the Nord Stream blasts?
In my opinion, the most likely culprit is sadly the United States, my own government. It was on February 7th, right after his meeting with the German Chancellor Scholz, that Biden said to the press, said if Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine, there will no longer be a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it. Then the reporters asked how, and Biden says, I promise you we will be able to do it. 20 days earlier, Undersecretary of State Victoria Nuland, a notorious neoconservative, said, I want to be very clear to you today. If Russia invades Ukraine, one way or another, Nord Stream 2 will not move forward. Antony Blinken, Secretary of State, after the bombing, said this offers tremendous strategic opportunity for years to come. Liz Truss, the former British Prime Minister, was gleeful about the explosion. The former Polish Prime Minister, Radoslaw Sikorski, tweeted a picture of the line with this phrase, "Thank you, USA." Who had the motive? Who had the ability? Who said they were going to do it? Clearly, the United States is the number one culprit. The United States has shown no interest in getting to the bottom of this. And so we understand why. Because if this comes out that the U.S. was behind this, I don't know if the U.S. was behind it. Nobody can know, really. But the circumstantial evidence suggests it. Maybe it was somebody else. Well, let's find out who it was.
Absolutely, indeed. At this moment, it's all circumstantial evidence. Thank you very much indeed, Professor Kuznick, for joining us from the United States and getting us all those insights there. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.